The stars of the Orion arm burned red that night. One by one, their light was swallowed by the darkness spreading across the galaxy. Entire systems were falling, their skies filled with the shadows of the Zeroth swarm, creatures without fear, without mercy, without limit. Every world that tried to resist had already turned silent. Planets once full of life now floated as ashes in space. Only static filled the communication lines. The Galactic Council's grand fleets had failed. The most powerful species in the galaxy, the Sirians, the Velen, the Orcra, were now refugees, hiding in their shattered stations and praying the swarm would not find them next. In the council chamber, a group of alien leaders stood around a glowing holographic map. Red markers spread like fire across it, covering every known sector. Panic filled the air. "We have no worlds left to send ships from," said the Velen Chancellor, his voice shaking. "They're consuming everything. Even the suns die after they pass." "They can't be stopped," hissed another. "Not by us. Not by anyone." Silence followed. The chamber trembled from distant explosions. The last of their defense platforms were falling. They had only one choice left, to send a plea. Not to an empire, not to an ally, but to a ghost. The Syrian High Speaker turned toward the transmission console. "Send it," she whispered. A young technician blinked. "To where, High Speaker?" The old alien's eyes dimmed. "To Sol, to Earth." A wave of fear rippled through the room. Someone shouted, "Earth? They're extinct!" The humans vanished centuries ago, but the High Speaker did not answer. Her trembling hands pressed the controls. A deep pulse of light shot through the void, a signal of pure desperation encoded with one message only. "To any who still remember mercy, please help us. The galaxy is dying." The signal crossed the stars. It passed through dead systems and forgotten war zones, through nebulae where ancient wrecks still drifted. It echoed across space where no one had listened for centuries. For days there was nothing, no reply. The council prepared for the end. Some gathered their families. Others prayed to their gods. The swarm's dark clouds grew closer, a living storm of wings and teeth. Then on the fourth day, something answered. A faint signal. Static at first, then words, calm human words. "This is Earth Command. We have received your transmission." The chamber froze. Eyes widened. Heart stopped. The voice continued. "Coordinates confirmed. Transmission verified. You asked for help. We are coming." Gasps echoed through the hall. Someone whispered, "Impossible." Another muttered, "It's a trick. A lie." But even as they argued, the council's long-range sensors began to scream. In the depths of space and far beyond any known trade routes, something stirred. An energy surge erupted near the Sol system. Warp signatures bloomed like flares. Old human frequencies filled the spectrum, encrypted in ancient Terran code. One council officer stared at the data in disbelief. "That can't be right. These readings, they're military, massive power outputs, fusion levels off the charts. Zoom in," the speaker ordered. The hologram magnified. Slowly, dark shapes appeared. Gigantic angular ships emerging from the shadows. Not sleek or beautiful like alien vessels, but built with brutal strength. Iron hulls black as night. Weapon arrays glowing faint red. There was no mistaking it. Human warships. They were coming. Across the void, entire fleets began moving. Silent, disciplined, unstoppable. Their formation stretched for light years. Old emblems of Earth's lost fleets flickered on their hulls, a blue sphere encircled by stars and wings of steel. A new transmission arrived, broadcast in all frequencies. "This is Admiral Rourke of Earth Command Fleet. We received your cry for help. Stand by for response." The galaxy had not heard that voice in 1,000 years. Many had grown up believing humans were only myths, ancient monsters that had once burned half the galaxy before vanishing behind their borders. Now those myths were real again. Council sensors went wild. Power signatures spiked. Hyperspace tunnels opened across dozens of sectors. Human dreadnoughts, ships once feared by every empire, were returning to war. But no one knew what side they would choose. Would they save the galaxy? Or finish what they started long ago? In the distance, under the cold light of dying stars, the first Terran dreadnought broke through the veil of space. Enormous, armored, its engines roaring like thunder. On its hull, a name glowed in ancient Terran script, SS Vengeance. And as it turned its guns toward the Zeroth swarm, A single message echoed across every communication channel in the galaxy. This is Earth Command. We heard your cry. Now you will hear our answer. The galaxy had prayed for a miracle, but what came instead was something else. The signal from Earth Command spread like wildfire. Every surviving world, every refugee station, every hidden moon heard it. That deep, calm human voice echoing through the void. Stand by for response. At first, most species refused to believe it. Humans had been gone for over 6 centuries. The last time they were seen, they had turned their back on the galaxy after the War of Cleansing, a war so brutal that even the victors erased the records to forget it. But now, something was moving again. In the dark reaches near the collapsed Vega Gate, deep space sensors picked up gravitational waves so massive that they tore smaller satellites apart. Then the void opened, and humanity came through. The ISS Vengeance led the fleet, a titanic dreadnought forged of black titanium and neutron alloys. Its hull looked more like a continent than a ship, scarred and ancient, covered in markings that told the story of forgotten wars. Behind it came the ISS Valor, Endurance, Stalwart, and Remembrance, their hulls bristling with weapon mounts that pulsed with a deep crimson glow. They did not arrive like a rescue fleet. They arrived like gods of war. Council stations all over the sector went silent, watching the feed in disbelief. Alien commanders stared at the screens, whispering old stories their ancestors told them. Stories of a time when humans fought entire coalitions alone and survived. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Rourke stood tall. His uniform was plain gray, his expression unreadable. Before him, holographic projections displayed the full horror of the Zeroth advance. Hundreds of thousands of swarm nodes devouring worlds, their numbers without end. A quiet voice broke the silence. "Sir, incoming message from the Council. They're requesting confirmation. They want to know if we are truly human." Rourke gave a small, tired smile. "Let them see for themselves." He turned toward the communications officer. "Open the channel." A blue light shimmered in the air. The alien faces appeared, trembling, desperate. Their words stumbled out. You answered the signal." We thought humanity was gone?" Rourke said quietly. "We were, but not anymore." The alien leader's voice cracked. "We have no weapons left, Admiral. The Zeroth are consuming everything. They will reach the core in days." Rourke's gaze shifted to the tactical screen. A storm of red icons and the swarm was closing in fast. "Understood," he said simply. "We'll take it from here." Without another word, he cut the transmission. "Fleet Command," he ordered. "Form up for wall deployment. Target vector 01 through 312. Let them feel what fire and iron really mean." The order rippled through the armada. Human warships shifted into formation, wings unfolding like blades. Their engines roared to life, lighting up the dark. Then the Zeroth appeared. Thousands, no, millions, of living ships, crawling and swarming through the void, their bodies shimmering with a sickly green glow. They surged forward, screaming across all frequencies, an ocean of biometal death. But the humans didn't move. They waited. Silent, cold, perfectly still. Until Admiral Rourke spoke. Fire, and the galaxy saw hell unleashed. Every Terran ship opened fire at once. Railguns the size of mountains spat tungsten shells faster than light. Beam cannons burned through entire clouds of the swarm. Missiles split and multiplied, each carrying micro-warheads that detonated in synchronized waves. Space itself seemed to tremble. From a nearby moon, refugees watched as the stars vanished behind the storm of human firepower. The Zeroth screamed, a sound that echoed through the very fabric of subspace, and then they began to die. In less than 6 minutes, an entire Zeroth fleet, 200,000 strong, was erased. Nothing but dust remained. On the bridge, an officer whispered, "They're retreating." Rourke didn't answer. He only stared at the tactical display. "They'll be back. They always come back." A junior lieutenant turned, voice full of awe. "Sir, how did they find us after all this time?" Rourke's gaze hardened. "They didn't find us," he said. "We've been watching, waiting. The galaxy may forget, but Earth never does." He turned to the communications console again. "To all surviving worlds," he said, voice steady as iron. "This is Earth Command. We heard your cry for help. Stand behind us. We'll handle the rest." Across hundreds of systems, aliens wept as the message echoed. For the first time in generations, the galaxy dared to hope. But deep in the darkness beyond the destroyed Zeroth fleets, something stirred, far larger, far older. The Hive Mother had awakened, and she had recognized the signal that burned through her children's minds. A human signal. With a voice that shook entire worlds, she spoke to her swarm. "They have returned. The Fireborn, the Iron Gods. Erase them." And as the galaxy held its breath once more, the stars flickered, as if even light itself feared what was coming next. The galaxy had seen wars before, but nothing like this. The Zeroth swarm returned in numbers that blotted out the stars. Their living hives stretched from one end of a sector to another, wings overlapping like the scales of a monster older than suns. The darkness itself seemed alive as they descended, roaring across the void, devouring planets, tearing through asteroids as if they were air, and waiting for them was the Terran fleet. Hundreds of human ships formed a silent wall of steel. From massive dreadnoughts to small strike frigates, each vessel held formation with surgical precision. Engines hummed, cannons glowed, and human voices filled the comms with calm purpose. All systems green. Targets locked. For Earth. For the galaxy. Admiral Rourke stood on the bridge of the ISS Vengeance, watching the swarm approach. His expression didn't change. He'd seen this before, a different enemy, a different war, but the same endless night trying to swallow humanity whole. "Status of the forward line?" he asked. "Ready, sir," replied Captain Harlow. "But they're coming in too many. Millions, maybe billions." Rourke's gaze was steel. "Then we'll need to teach them how humans count." The first wave hit. A living storm of claws and acid screamed through space, slamming into the human wall. Energy shields flared blue under the impact. Dozens of smaller ships were torn apart instantly, but the line did not break. "Fire control," Rourke said quietly. "Unleash the iron answer," and the void exploded. Massive spinal cannons roared, their barrels glowing white-hot. Each shot was a miniature sun, punching holes through the swarm. Swarms of kinetic projectiles carved tunnels through the living tide, scattering bodies like dust. Railgun slugs traveled faster than light, each one carrying the weight of a mountain. And through it all, the humans never shouted, never panicked. Their voices were steady, professional, deadly. Target destroyed. Reloading. Next wave incoming. On distant worlds, refugees gathered around flickering screens, watching the impossible battle unfold. For the first time in their lives, they saw what true war looked like. A small child asked her mother, "Are they angels?" The mother's eyes were wet. "No," she whispered. "They're humans." Hours passed like seconds. Space was fire and silence. The Zeroth were endless, but the Terrans were unbreakable. When the swarm finally broke through the outer line, the Vengeance was already waiting. Its broadside batteries opened up, releasing a storm of plasma fire so intense that nearby moons cracked from the shockwave. The ship's AI whispered tactical data, recalculating 1,000 battles every second. "Enemy numbers down to 61%, said the AI calmly. "Not enough," Rourke murmured. "Bring the Black Lance online." The crew froze. The Black Lance was forbidden, a relic from Earth's darkest wars. It was said to tear the soul from space itself. "Admiral, if we fire that, the system—" "Will survive," Rourke interrupted. "We might not." "Fire it anyway." Moments later, a long black cylinder rose from the Vengeance's core. Its tip glowed with crimson light. A low hum filled the fleet as its energy charge reached critical levels. Then it fired. A beam of darkness, not light, lanced across the void. It didn't explode, it erased. Everything it touched, Zeroth, ships, debris, even radiation, simply vanished. A perfect tunnel of nothingness expanded through the swarm. The galaxy watched in silence. The Zeroth screamed across all frequencies, their telepathic network breaking apart from the pain. Billions of minds cried out as their connection collapsed. Entire hive clusters turned on each other in confusion. Admiral Rourke lowered his head. "That's for Terra Nova," he whispered. "A colony lost long ago to the same kind of swarm." The battle raged for hours. Human ships began to fall, their hulls burning, their crews dying with calm dignity. Aboard the ISS Valor, Captain Imani sent one final message before ramming her ship into the largest. Zeroth, mother creature, we hold the line. Her ship vanished in a blinding flash, taking half the swarm with it. As the last waves died out, silence fell again. The stars reappeared dim and quiet. Enemy presence reduced to 12%, said the AI softly. Rourke exhaled. Signal the fleet. Begin search and rescue. We've done what we can here. But even as the words left his mouth, a transmission cut through every channel. Not human, not Zeroth, but something deeper. I am the Hive Mother. You burned my children. Now you will burn with them. The temperature across every Terran ship dropped. Radiation alarms screamed. Space itself began to twist. From the darkness beyond the dead worlds, a shape began to emerge. Massive, living, and older than civilization. A planet-sized hive pulsing with green fire. The Hive Mother had arrived. On the Vengeance, the crew stared in awe and terror. Rourke's jaw tightened. So the Queen shows herself. He turned to his officers, voice calm but hard as iron. Gentlemen and ladies, this is what we came for. She wanted an answer. Let's give her one. And as the Terran fleet turned toward the oncoming godlike creature, the stars once again vanished under the light of human fire. The Hive Mother filled the void like a living world. Her body was a planet of flesh and metal, wrapped in clouds of bioenergy. Her eyes were twin stars burning green, each the size of a moon. Around her, the shattered remains of her swarm reformed, billions of fragments knitting themselves into new horrors. For the first time in centuries, even Admiral Rourke felt fear. She's using the dead, whispered Captain Harlow, watching as the remains of fallen Zeroth fused into new life. Every piece, every cell, she's rebuilding. The ISS Vengeance shook under a pulse that rippled through space. Sensors failed, shields flickered. The Hive Mother had spoken. Children of fire, her voice echoed inside their minds. You burn the stars and call it mercy. I will show you what mercy truly is. The fleet's AI screamed warnings. Power surges spiked across all ships. The Hive Mother had unleashed a wave of psionic energy so powerful it bent reality itself. Dozens of smaller human ships disintegrated instantly, their crews gone before they could even cry out. Rourke gripped the command rail. Stabilize shields! Rotate frequencies. Already trying, sir. The AI responded, its tone strained for the first time. Her power output exceeds all recorded limits. The Admiral's gaze turned cold. Then we break those limits. He activated the fleet-wide channel. This is Admiral Rourke to all Earth command units. The Hive Mother is here. She intends to erase everything. Every species, every child, every home. We will not allow it. You all know what to do. No one needed more orders. The Terran fleet shifted into attack formation, the Crucible pattern. A configuration used only once in history. Designed for a single purpose. To destroy something that could not be destroyed. Every ship linked power grids, synchronizing their reactors. The fleet became one enormous weapon. Sir, said Harlow, if we fire the full grid, we'll burn our own systems. None of us will make it back. Rourke looked at him calm as stone. Humanity was never about making it back. The Hive Mother moved first. Her enormous tendrils lashed out, releasing waves of acid clouds and plasma storms. A Terran frigate, ISS Frontier, was sliced clean in half. Still, before dying, it fired one last missile, detonating inside the creature's flesh. From across the comms, the dying captain's voice echoed through static. For the children who cried for help. The detonation tore a crater into the Hive Mother's surface, but she didn't even flinch. Instead, she screamed. The shockwave knocked the Vengeance off course. Reactor temperature rising, shouted the engineer. We can't hold much longer. Rourke stared at the sensor feed. A sea of green fire and blood. Prepare the Crucible, he said. One by one, human ships began overloading their cores, transferring power to the flagship. Blue energy arced through the void, linking every vessel like threads of light. The fleet glowed brighter and brighter until it looked like a single burning sun. Across the galaxy, survivors watched the transmission. Humans, aliens, children, soldiers, all silent as they saw Earth's last fleet standing against a god. Inside the Vengeance, the lights flickered. The hull groaned. Energy grid at 95%, said the AI. All systems critical. Do it, Rourke ordered. The moment the charge reached full capacity, the Admiral turned to his crew. He saw faces lit by blue light, tired, scarred, unbroken. He nodded once. "It's been an honor." Then he pressed the final command. The fleet fired. A beam of pure white fire erupted from the Vengeance, piercing the Hive Mother's chest. For one terrible moment, everything went silent. Then the void exploded. The blast burned across half a star system. Entire moons vaporized. The Hive Mother screamed, a sound that tore through every mind from one end of the galaxy to the other. Her enormous body cracked, split, and finally collapsed into nothing. But so did the Terran fleet. Ships overloaded, reactors burst, hulls shattered. One by one, they vanished into the storm they had created. The ISS Valor broke apart. The Endurance melted into molten fragments. Even the mighty Vengeance burned from the inside out. As the bridge filled with smoke and fire, the AI whispered softly, "All targets destroyed." "Mission accomplished." Rourke smiled faintly. "Send the message." "Message ready, sir." "To who?" He looked out at the dying stars. "To whoever comes next." The Vengeance's final transmission echoed through the void. "This is Earth Command." We answered the call. "The Hive is gone. Humanity stands no more. But remember, when the galaxy cries again, someone will hear." Then the ship vanished in a brilliant burst of light, taking with it the last of humanity's fleet. Silence returned. The war was over. The Hive Mother was dead, but so was the Terran Armada. In the empty space where they had fought, only drifting wreckage remained, glowing faintly, like embers in the dark. And in those embers a single beacon blinked weakly, repeating one line over and over, for those who called for help. Centuries passed. The war was long over. The Hive Mother was gone. The stars that once burned green now shone cold and quiet. The ruins of countless worlds drifted in silence, graveyards of a forgotten war. But in that silence, something remained. A faint signal pulsed across the void, repeating endlessly. It was weak, broken by time, but still there. For those who called for help, at first no one understood it. Young species called it the ghost frequency. Explorers heard it near dying suns or in the ruins of long-dead battlefields. Some said it was just static. Others swore they heard human words within it. Calm, steady, eternal. Over the centuries, stories spread. They spoke of the Fireborn, a lost race of warriors who answered when the galaxy cried. They said their ships were made of iron, their hearts of light, and their anger of storms. Most dismissed it as myth. Until one day, a discovery changed everything. The discovery a deep space survey vessel from the Velen Republic was charting a silent sector, coordinates long marked as forbidden. Their scanners picked up strange metallic debris orbiting a dead moon. Captain Sarah of the VRN Dawnstar ordered a closer look. What they found wasn't debris, it was a graveyard. Thousands of ships, human and alien alike, drifted there, half-melted, frozen in eternal battle. The wrecks of the Zeroth and the Terran fleet lay side by side, locked together like enemies who refused to let go even in death. And at the center of it all was a single ship, enormous, cracked, black as night. Its hull still carried one name in fading white letters: Is Vengeance. The crew fell silent. Even the ship's AI couldn't find words. Sarah floated through the wreck's airlock, her breath echoing inside her helmet. The corridors were scorched and frozen. Skeletons of humans sat at their posts, helmets tilted toward the stars. None had fled. None had surrendered. On the bridge, the Admiral's chair still faced forward. A shattered datapad lay beside it, its cracked screen glowing faintly. A message blinked. Sarah touched it, and a voice, calm, deep, human, filled the silence. "This is Admiral Rourke of Earth Command. If you are hearing this, then the swarm is gone. We did what we came to do." The recording flickered, then continued. "The galaxy will rebuild. You'll make new alliances, new homes. You'll forget the names of those who fought here. That's good. Forget the faces, but not the reason. When someone cries for help, you answer, no matter the cost." The voice faded, and then the last line, spoken almost in a whisper. "We were humanity. Remember us not for what we destroyed, but for what we saved." Sarah stood frozen. Around her, the crew whispered prayers in a dozen alien tongues. None of them had ever met a human. None ever would. But in that moment, every one of them felt what humanity had been. The monument. The discovery spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Every major world sent delegations to the Terran graveyard. Even the descendants of the Council, once divided, once broken, gathered in unity. They built a monument on the moon nearest the Vengeance. Not tall, not grand, just a single spire of black stone rising from the dust, carved with ancient words from Earth's lost languages. At its base, in hundreds of scripts, one sentence was written: "When the galaxy cried for help, humanity answered." Each year, thousands came to see it. Pilgrims, soldiers, children, and each time, the old signal still pulsed faintly in the background, whispering through the static, for those who called for help. But legends never die quietly. The new signal 200 years later, sensors on the edge of the Perseus Rift picked up something impossible. A new signal, identical to the old Terran frequency. But stronger. The galactic network erupted. Scientists argued. Governments panicked. Was it a replay? A reflection? Or something else? Captain Sarah's great-granddaughter, now commander of a frontier patrol, listened to the repeating code. It was clearer this time. "This is Earth Command. We heard your cry. Stand by for response." The signal ended, and in the deep dark of the void, where the wreck of the Vengeance once slept, engines began to hum. Lights flickered across its hull, faint at first, then bright, burning red like the heart of a dying star reigniting. The galaxy watched as one ancient Terran ship powered up. The promise across 1,000 worlds. Every race that once feared or hated humanity stopped and listened. Some prayed, some trembled. And in that moment, a message spread across all frequencies, not from fear, not from command, but from hope. They are not gone. The fire still burns. When the galaxy cries again, humanity will answer. The stars shimmered. The wreck's engines flared like dawn after endless night. And far away, somewhere deep in Sol system, beneath layers of dust and silence, an ancient beacon on Earth blinked once, then twice, before transmitting one last line into the void. "This is Earth Command. We never left.